Welcome back to Conversations Catapults, the #1 after show for the #1 D&D podcast. I'm your host, Nathan, and today I have the coolest kids in school joining me. Say hello, coolest kids.
Hello, I am cool kid #1, and also the person who plays Windsor Wallaby on the hit #1 podcast, Trials and Trebuchets.
Hey, cool kids, it's me, Carla, and I play the level 6 Tiefling Rogue Integrity Addleberry, and the coolest show in the town.
I wish that I could be like the cool kids. Oh wait, I am, cause we are all cool kids. Hi, I'm Sarah, and I play Mira Marchand, the level 6 half-elf bard.
All right, and we have the original crew with us today.
Except we're missing
Yes, Sam
one.
couldn't make it. This
Yeah.
is the OG TNT.
The OG TNT 3.
The Ogres!
Nice.
Oh my god, we are not
Yeah.
ogres.
I love that name for you all, actually.
The ogres.
All right, I'm here with the ogres. Oh, perfect.
What
So,
are you doing in my swamp?
it's funny, you legally can't mention ogres without Shrek being mentioned as well.
Because Shrek is the best ogre.
Name another ogre.
Fiona?
Oh,
Their child?
All three
All
of their
of them?
children?
I obviously did not know my
Shrek's
Shrek
parents
lore
from
before
Shrek
coming
the
into
musical?
this.
There's layers to it all, like an onion.
Like an onion,
Oh
yeah.
my lord, I am going to... Oh, well, we had a good run. I think 3 episodes is as good as we were ever going to get.
This episode of Conversations and Catapults is just us like watching and reviewing the Shrek musical.
Oh my
That's true.
gosh.
Don't tempt me.
As long as there's a conversation involved, I think it counts.
It doesn't say that it has to be about Trials and Trebuchets, right?
Yeah, no, for this episode, I've decided, Luke isn't here to keep us on track, so I figured that we could just, talk. I think that's what the people are really here for. How has everyone been doing?
Oh, not bad. The weather's great in Vancouver, really sunny at the moment. Good times, good times.
Fantastic.
I just found out that my doctor is pregnant.
Oh,
Good for her.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. That's not really a big news, but it was a new information I found out today. So
It's news.
well, congratulations, Carla's doctor.
woohoo!
yeah, if you're listening, Carla's doctor, congrats. We're very excited for you.
Congratulations.
Woo.
And
Ben,
thank
you got anything?
Well, I had a nice Easter weekend with my family, and as usual,
Oh, shit, yeah.
Happy
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter
Easter,
Monday.
everybody. So I went to visit them, and I only took like one bag with me. It's like, oh, here are just my clothes because I'm staying over, and then I come back with 3 extra bags full of stuff as
Food?
usual. I mean, look at all these Ferrero Rochers I still got.
Oh, fuck.
Yo! That's the best
I want
thing.
Ferrero Rochers.
I still have some left over.
What? No, I want them, though.
Like they just fucking loaded me up with a bunch of chocolate and stuff.
Way to...
Nice.
Oh, man, now that
That
makes me
rules.
actually miss the holiday. Yeah, that rules. Well, that was great, but I'm afraid that it was not great podcast material. Chances are Luke has cut all of that.
Oh, shucks.
But now that you've said that, it's not getting cut.
Haha.
No, I wanted to speak to you all about episodes 116 and 117, both of which were, very chill compared to the past few weeks that you all have been in Ithil. And 116 especially was a chill time of you all figuring out how to make an elevator work while keeping the shoes on someone, which is a sentence that makes sense in context, but out of it, I'm not so sure. I wanted to talk to you all about the Loft of Elders and kind of reflect on the other amazing settings that you all have seen in the campaign, using it as kind of a pivot point. This is a very dope treehouse, but I also wanted to hear what other cool places have stood out to you all over the course of the 117 episodes that you've been doing this show.
Definitely Nebulosus.
Yep. Nebulosus.
Everything
comes to
about the
mind.
spire and the city of ghosts, so memorable. Love it.
Oh.
Love the imagery of the
You know-
spire falling.
Like it's just so big
Yes.
and it's so
See-
open.
It rules. To me, I really love the masks that everyone in that bank, everyone in the bank was wearing. Those masks that were just pure sorrow.
Love that.
Which,
Yeah.
if anything, made me feel seen as a customer service employee. It's very much the feeling of like, oh, yes, I do put on a mask every day, except it's usually not to show people how sad this job makes me.
Yikes.
Oh.
Love it.
I wonder if they have to choose the mask every like morning. Like, oh, today I'm feeling sad. Let me pick out this mask.
You know, am I feeling anguish, or is it like more of a despair kind of day, or is it more ennui?
Now, if it was a
You know
if
what?
it was a permanent situation, that would be horrible for a lot of them.
I
They'd just be
know.
like, it would just be nonstop sadness. On and
Everyone
off
gets
the clock.
assigned one emotion. That's all you get.
Christ.
You know, you got Malaise Mondays, Tortured Tuesdays, Weeping Wednesdays, Thursdays, and then Fucked Up Fridays.
Thursdays.
Those are all great songs by the Bangles. Are they the people who did Manic Monday? Fuck. It's them, right?
The Bangles?
Never mind.
Keep that in, Luke. I want everyone to hear Sarah Bomb.
It's not my fault that none of you know music unless I'm wrong and it's not the Bangles, in which case it is my
Bangles.
fault. Anyway, another great location that I
feel like
remember
we're not
and
getting
that I
anywhere
like.
with that.
All right, let's. So we've heard about Nebulosis, but I also wanted to hear about any other places because there is a wealth of them. Because like the Spire is great, but what about Zanak's underground
Yes.
party city?
Oh,
Oh,
Lord.
it's so good. It's like go back to Party City where you belong, Zanak.
Oh my gosh. I don't have fond memories of. It's not that I hated Party Palace, but
You didn't
like,
have your
I think-
orb. You did. You did
Yeah.
hate it. Because
Yeah,
your orb
I-
was
it's-
stolen and you were mad.
Yeah, I think it was because I didn't have the orb, and I was like, oh my, like I was super stressed out, and I think I did not have like the capacity to enjoy it. But like listening to it now and having it described, and I was like, yeah, it was fun, but it was clouded by my obsession with the orb. And I'm like, am I integrity or
Yeah, we need to ask about the settings that you had to visit while you were still looking for a pink topaz in that case, just to see if it's only the orb or if it's just you as a person or integrity.
Honestly, it seems like it's never the situation itself. It's the character. So integrity, it gets fixated on stuff. So I guess it's not
Yeah.
surprising that she acted like that with the orbs or the orb.
In that case, I think it's interesting that you bring that up and how, like, where the character is at affects how you view a setting or a set piece like these places. Because I was curious about, like, all right, what does make an environment like that very fun for you all? Is it just a cool description, or is it the things that you can do there playing a part?
I really like sort of cultures and people. And so what I really like is when I can learn about some kind of interesting cultural difference that I can sort of then see back and be like, oh, that makes sense. Like I can see why they developed that. I can see why this world or this society would need something like that. I really just love when I learn about a new world, just getting to learn about its quirks and intricacies and what makes it that way and sort of what people's lives are like there. And so I really enjoy, settings like Nebulosis where, you have this whole underground city and you have this whole culture with the bank, and I love getting to think about why that might be the case. I just really love stuff like that.
Ben, you seem deep in thought here. And I was also kind of thinking of you when I made this question, just because it's very much within your brand to fuck with things.
Yes.
And so, like, I was curious, like, when you are introduced to a new place, are you just clocking places for you to, like, cause chaos? Or is that just something that happens without you even intentionally doing so?
So I think with every new world that we happen to arrive in, or something that just happens to be new, there's always some sort of like curiosity drive that just like turns on whenever that happens. So I'm just like, I wanna explore, I wanna find stuff, I wanna be intrigued. So there's just some sort of like childlike wonder and naivety of me just like wanting to go around and like, if I do this, I wonder what will happen. Because this is all new. I don't know what's going to happen. So maybe if I do this, something cool will happen. And usually it'll just cause chaos and like a domino effect without me like,
Oh, goodness.
really thinking about it.
That you just turned this whole episode into a teaser for 118. We've now just seen the dominoes set up. Carla, what about you? What makes an environment fun for you?
Well, I think I like imagining things a lot. So I like being introduced to a place through descriptions, and then there will be like this key thing that I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to like touch that. I wanna play with that a little bit. So I think that applies to all the settings. But then the problem is, sorry, I got like super excited there. The problem is I'm so bad at understanding stuff. Like something will be described to me and I'm like, oh my gosh, that sounds like something that I want to do. And then I will have this wrong understanding for a couple of episodes.
Flat
And then-
orbs.
Yeah. Like honestly, it's just it's me. Like it just doesn't register. But yeah, I love imagining the things from the description and then from that exploring what. Yeah, sorry, that was a really bad
Absolutely.
answer.
There is no such thing as a bad answer on this podcast. Only bad questions. Speaking of, I wanted to ask another one. Which was, so this is more of something for you all to flex your imaginations. Ferdinand was in a lot of risk of losing her shifted shape while visiting the loft. Can't take off her shoes, can't offer any sort of cloth to simile, which made me curious, based on her vibes alone, what do you all think she looks like in her natural state? Or maybe natural isn't the right word, her original state. It might be very natural for her to steal faces in a very fun way. So I don't want to cast aspersions on that.
Honestly, I think that, I guess because my idea of witches is the witch from Snow White. So like that kind of witch old. But then I have this imagination that the clothes that she wears, because she explores different planes and stuff. So she looks like the witch from Snow White, but she wears cool clothes, like streetwear.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
imagination.
What about, do you guys know Jamie Lee Curtis, but in Freaky Friday, where she's actually like Lindsay Lohan in Jamie Lee
Yeah.
Curtis's body? What if
Yeah.
it's that?
Oh god.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
goodness.
I mean,
That's-
that makes sense why she was like, let's do yoga and then does poses.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. There
This
you
is
go,
Jamie Lee Curtis. Yeah. Freaky Friday,
was-
Jamie Lee Curtis.
That's a bit younger than I was thinking, but I see it. I was thinking more of like a Betty White energy.
Okay, Knives Out,
but
Jamie
that
Lee
may-
Curtis, but still like in Lindsay Lohan's mind.
That's a powerful combination.
Mine's pretty simple because I just think, oh, it feels like a younger green Celty. Like just a younger light green Celty, because I don't think Celty really does anything except like sit in her house and do nothing except like bake and make weird shit. So I think Ferdinand might have a little bit more like spring in her step with all like the exercise, you know, running away from like life and death situations. So maybe that's
So
why
like a fit Celty.
yeah, so she might be about like the same age, but she has that like younger look just because she's more active.
I can see that. For some reason, I always just kind of picture her wearing a clown costume. I'm not entirely sure why. It's just the vibe that I get.
Because
she's a clown.
Yeah, listen, y'all said it, not me. I'm not allowed to talk poorly about any NPCs on the podcast.
Except Bailey.
Fuck Bailey.
Well, hey, let's be clear. Bailey Blue fucking sucks. We are anti-Bailey Blue here. And if you are pro Bailey Blue, you're not allowed to listen to this podcast.
Oof.
Oh my gosh.
I know
Stop
we joke
now.
a lot around here. This is not a joke. If you're a Bailey Blue defender, you can get out of here.
Just turn off the podcast. Just throw it away.
Please.
Yeah.
Listen, you can go, obviously rate the podcast 5 stars on, wherever you're listening. But do make sure you mention that it is an anti-Bailey Blue zone. It's way easier to shit on him than it is on the British, right? I mean, at least this way we're like hurting a lot fewer people.
Oh my god.
I mean, Bailey Blue
Jesus.
definitely eats beans on toast, though.
Oh, he has a bread sandwich, no doubt.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Carla, I was also
I'm not myself without
Thinking.
my bread sandwich
Hi.
in the morning.
Hey, what day do British people usually eat?
What day?
Tuesday.
Ooh.
Nice.
What?
And we're back to dunking on the British again.
Like chewing?
No, yeah, no, I
Oh.
got, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
It's Tuesday, innit? Oi, it's 7 bong.
Now, Another question that I had for all three of you was, Integrity is getting a whole lot closer to uncovering something about the orbs and possibly the Jade Dagger as well. After all, she has that scroll at her disposal, and with the help of a very powerful witch, it seems that she is going to be learning quite a bit about the orb, and possibly the dagger if she takes some god magic, which is going to be totally legit and not at all a bad idea. What do you think would be the worst case scenario in terms of finding something out about the orb? What is the thing that you want to find out the least? Basically, give me your most pessimistic prediction when it comes to these orbs.
The orbs were from the dollar store.
Oh my god.
That's a joke.
Oh?
The progenitor went to some like backwoods store, like the very back of the strip mall.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. Yeah, no, the progenitor picked it up on his way to the birthday party, like from a Walgreens or something like that. Just like, you know that you got it. The tag is still on it. It's a bad gift.
Oh, yeah.
Sarah, you were saying?
No, I was just going to say something that might actually be scary, and I think might actually be very possible given the stuff we know, is the idea that, like, we know that the orbs are, like, quote-unquote, like, inert right now. Like, we can't do anything with them. They aren't currently powerful objects. What I wonder is if the thing that activates them is literally just one person having them all at once in the same place. And that's scary because I think that if that is true, it gives any powerful person, like, for example, Faramel, who wants one, a greater incentive to get more. And it also is a little bit worrying because, Integrity now has two of them. And we want to believe then that, like, the more people that have them over like the greater span of area, like the less concentrated the power is in one place, the better. And it seems like that is the opposite of what's happening right now. And I feel like that would be a very worrying outcome.
I also worry that Integrity having multiple orbs at the moment is going to increase her dependency on them.
Yes.
As we've seen Artis just grow incredibly weak without his orb.
Teb seems to be like unhinged, or seemed to be, very unhinged without them. There's two, I know that there's like two strains of theories about that, right? Because we know that one of the orbs sort of degraded Artis's body. We know that one of the orbs degraded Teb's mind. So the two sort of theories that I've seen is that like all of the orbs have different effects on different people, or different orbs have different effects. And I'm more in the camp of the latter one. But in either case, it very much worries me about like what sort of dependency Integrity might be building to them and what might happen then if she is without them for some amount of time.
I'll just be less powerful because that's the orb of power, right?
She's gonna be really clumsy.
Oh no!
What if it's the case where it like Integrity can no longer use magic?
Ooh,
damn,
That's
that's
ironic
magic is
given
power.
her. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's extreme. I thought like I will just not be able to do pull-ups. But
There's a lot of
might.
things that technically can give you
true.
power, so it's pretty vague.
Indeed. See, my most pessimistic prediction was just that the orbs have been flat the whole time. And Carla was right.
They've been
Oh, but
flat.
everyone knows that.
Yeah, everyone knows that.
It's like every time you try to look at it from a different angle, it just rotates.
It's like Mickey Mouse's head where the ears are just always facing you.
Ugh.
I think that you mean like what, like something that I will find out once I do the magic, like the most pessimistic vision that I will get from the item. Is that
Yes. Yes, it is.
Honestly, like one of my fears is that I will find out because my idea is that the orb has been there for a long time. It was put there and it was not touched since until like I got it. So my hope is that I will see who put it there, or like the last person who touched it. I never like, because it's not specific. The spell is not specific to a point in time that about that object, a point in time in terms of that object, right?
Right, it doesn't necessarily say it'll only go back to the last 100 years or the
Yes.
last 10 years.
Like imagine if
You're getting the whole thing.
yeah, like I spent all this money to have a magic scroll and then I will only have a vision of it sitting like on
How much money did you spend again?
it's in my
This
notebook
doesn't-
somewhere.
It probably doesn't matter, actually. I was just curious. I forgot about the actual spending money part, but
Yeah. I just know that I spent like a good amount of money that I don't want to spend again. Like it's significant enough that I literally thought when I was talking to Professor Doss, it was significant enough that I was like, should I just wait it out? But one thing that I've been trying to do is to say yes and not be afraid, because I feel like I don't take enough risks, and that's just like for me, like as Carla, as a player, I want to take risks. So I'm just like, yeah, let me give you money.
I think you do a good job of taking risks, and I can definitely see you becoming, you take a lot more initiative in these scenes, like I have noticed. So I do want to like encourage you there. I think you've been doing a really good job of that.
Thank you so much.
As a listener, obviously.
You're gonna make me cry.
I can't tell if you're laughing at me or not. I can't tell if you're joking.
No. Like, it means a lot because, like...
Yeah, no worries. Well, naturally, I also have to ask the other side of this coin, or orb, as it were. What do you think is the best case scenario here? Because the orbs have been such a threatening thing. Even at your most optimistic, what could you believe being true about them? Or learning about them with this scroll?
I think the best case scenario is simply anything that suggests that the orbs are not presently able to hurt people, and that there's nothing like that could very easily be done to make that happen, basically. So like, these were powerful objects a long time ago, some specific magical process happened to deactivate them, they're probably not going to reactivate unless a lot of complicated steps are going to happen, something like that. Just sort of something that makes their worry seem less immediate.
I like that. I find that interesting.
I can't really think of anything else positive about those orbs.
I
really
really
can't.
It
It's
was
a
meant to be
worrying
a bit of.
situation.
It was meant to be a head scratcher. Like,
They're
you're not
evil.
Going to points. I didn't know if there's like, oh, well, here we're going to learn how to actually destroy them by learning about how they were made or anything like that. Those are the only things that I could think of as a possible positive thing that you could learn here.
Oh, yeah. Like, maybe we can drop them in a volcano.
Yeah, just take it to the fires of Mount Doom and throw that bad boy in.
Exactly. And then no more problem. And then Artist
No more
dies
problem.
because he's
Yo.
weak. Because he doesn't have the orb.
Hey, about time, am I right?
No! I want
F.
Artist to live.
And then suddenly, when
Oh.
Artist dies, Fadan shows up.
Oh, that's brutal.
Oops.
Oh my gosh.
I would love that so much. Luke,
She's like,
take
hey, I'm
notes.
back.
What? Watch. Y'all have only been with Artis for like a few months now, right?
Yes.
What if she was just on an extended trip and like he was just really sad about her not being around for a few months?
Aww.
Or even if it actually was 30 years, but it's like, okay, remember that elves are old? I'm several hundred years old. 30 years is like a couple months to you. Maybe she'll be back. It's fine. I'm just disappointed right now.
She's at the fantasy version of Las Vegas, just like
Yes.
tearing it up, and she's gonna be
Girls
home.
trip.
Yep, girls trip.
Would make me feel extremely guilty about all the times I fucking bullied him and stressed him out,
Oh my god.
Nah, he deserves it.
left him to die,
Narc.
fed him rotten pork rinds that one time.
Oh goodness.
Maybe
Yeah, you guys have really pranked him.
Haha,
Yeah.
pranked.
Artist is always getting punked.
He's always getting punked. Oh, Carla, do you have something to say? I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to continue on the joke, but it's fine. I was gonna say like, she's stuck in like a hotel, like, you know, the hotel, or it's not a really hotel, like in Greek mythology, it's the one where they're stuck in time in that specific.
Do you mean the Lotus
The Lotus
Casino and
Casino.
Percy
Yeah.
Jackson?
Yep.
I was thinking that.
Oh, that'd be sick, actually. Luke, take notes.
Yeah. That's
But-
actually really fucking cool.
Speaking of two characters being madly in love with one another, would you all be interested in playing another round of Battleships?
Always.
more time to lose.
What do we got this time?
Well, this time we only had one new character introduced, but they were a doozy. Similai, the wooden
Yes.
caretaker of the Loft of Elders, a sweetheart, a lover of squirrels, and a very good host.
I
Tell
love
me.
Semilai.
Similai is great. Similai, I'm going to call it now, fan favorite immediately.
They better.
We'll see.
Okay, I've got mine. Okay, so my proposed ship for Semilai is Semilai x Melon, right? Like, it makes sense. They're both sort of caretakers of some kind of establishment in the plane of Isithil. They've got that in common. They're both very, very kind people, but they've sort of got like some rowdy presences around them. They can really relate to each other there. I think that the ideal future would be if Melon were able to sell his in. Maybe just have it be incorporated into a part of the loft instead. Have it sort of just be lifted up and brought over there. Have like a little new room in the loft area so Melon doesn't have to worry about it. Semilai can be the caretaker and Melon can relax and introduce Semilai to some lovely board games. Just a wholesome, sweet hostship over here.
That's very sweet. I love that. And I think Milan would definitely appreciate being in a place where violence is so thoroughly discouraged.
Oh, that
Yeah.
is true.
Lord knows he needs it.
He really does.
Coming out of the gate hot with that one. Ben, Carla, do either of you have any ideas?
I have an idea.
Oh boy. The way you said that immediately put me on edge.
I'm scared. Let's hear it.
It's going to be Poji.
No, it's not gonna be Poji. I would pair Semilai with Fenwick.
I was thinking that.
Ha!
Why?
I yoinked it from your brain.
Please elaborate.
So Semilai is obviously a good caretaker and just looks over like the loft and such. So I feel like Fenwick appears to be a very busy woman, right? She seems to just be like always in a rush or like this, something needs to get done. So she's always like absorbed in her work. So I feel like she wouldn't be able to really give herself the sort of self-care that one would really need. So I feel like Semilai would always be there to give Fenwick that additional support to ensure that they stay focused on their work, but they also don't deteriorate in the process.
I do kind
like
of
that.
I love the idea of Fenwick coming to the Loft of Elders, like treating it like a kind of a B&B, and then Semilai taking care of her.
And considering
that
Fenwick
sounds-
is also an aficionado of maps and such, I feel like the loft
Dang.
would be an excellent place to sort of get a scouting of the area, especially with that telescope.
Strong argument. Carla, you're going to have to come in with a good one.
I
Better
know.
come and swing in.
Oh, and Carla, do you want to be reminded of the current scoreboard for battleships?
No, you don't have to remind me. It's clear. I think that Semilai would fit well with the book thumb Ava.
All right.
And I think
Oh, greening.
yeah. And my reasoning behind it is like, so I imagine Green Thumb Ava with like growing books and taking care of the plants that grows books, and I can just imagine one of the rooms in the Loft of Elders, because like in Semilai's study there's already ingredients growing on the wall, so they are growing all those plants in the room. I don't know, I just think it fits.
That's very cute. I love that Semilai is so sweet and wholesome that no one here could be like,
No one
we're
would have
having an
anything
enemies
cursed.
to lovers, no rivals to lovers, nothing.
Semilai
here.
has no enemies, only a lovely little place
You
to take
cannot
care of.
hate Semilai.
Impossible.
They're so peaceful.
Now watch. The episode's gonna come out and everyone's gonna be like, Semilai sucks. I hate
hate
them.
Semilai
Die.
Semilai is evil. They're up to
Semilai
something.
is secretly gonna kill
Don't trust
Swim,
them.
stab him in the
She's
back.
so sweet. Like-
Semilai is actually Fadan.
Oh
my
Oh
God.
my god, I can't
I
believe we
can't
figured
believe
it out.
Fadan turned into a tree.
Oh yeah. Oh, also, my own crackpot fan theory. Fadan and Ferdinand definitely switched skins at one point, and now Fadan is walking around unrecognizable to artists.
Ooh,
Oh my
That's
God.
that's scary.
brutal.
That's
Oh, yeah.
scary.
That's sad.
Anyways, have fun thinking about that.
Yep,
So-
that's not gonna haunt my mind
Don't
for the
like
next
that.
week.
imagine if there's like someone that like came up to artists and be like, "Hey, it's me, Fadan," and then she's like, "No, you're not Fadan," and then all this time he's not believing the person who's saying that they're Fadan because they don't look like Fadan. Oh, that's sad.
I know, isn't it great?
Oh no.
Yeah.
Now, I will give a recap as to who everyone has chosen for this round of battleships. To start off, we have Sarah with Semilai and Milan, two caretakers who would be a powerful host duo running the Elders Loft together, or the Loft of Elders, as it should be called, excuse me. Then we have Ben, who believes that Fenwick is Semilai's perfect match, being a cartographer and also someone who is very busy. Semilai would be a great way to balance her out. Finally, Carla, we had Similai with Ava Greening, or Book Thumb Ava. Basically, the one who grows books as plants. Similai being wooden themselves and also having a ton of books. This is a natural match made in heaven. But then again, the same could be said for all three. If you all could, please DM me your votes right now.
All right. There.
Okay. Carla, I have good news and bad news.
Oh boy.
The good news is you are keeping up your streak 3 episodes running. Unfortunately, it's a bit too weird to see Ava and Similai together. After all, Similai has now seen an Ava or someone who looks like one.
That is true.
They might have a negative reaction to someone whose shape has been stolen.
That is
Unfortunately,
true.
you came in last place this time.
Oof.
Which leaves us with the first and second place, both of which powerful answers. And I want to be clear, all 3 of these were great, but only one could win this round of battleships, and it seems that everyone would love a husband and partner duo running the Loft of Elders with Milan and Similai. Sarah has gotten the point for this round of battleships. Ben, congratulations on runner-up.
At least it's
now
not
this-
third. Sorry.
The ongoing scoreboard for those of you at home.
It starts with Carla, so this is like from like least to best.
Yeah, we have Carla. It's golf rules, actually. So the fewer numbers you have, the better you are.
Damn.
Being good at shipping is not a good skill to have. But we start off with Carla at 0, which maybe next time you've got this. Next, we have Sam with 1, and Ben and Sarah are now both tied with 2 wins under their belts.
Oh boy.
Oh, it's on.
It is on. This is a very powerful combination, and I'm so excited to see what comes next.
Spicy.
But before we actually see what comes next, I'm afraid that I have to go speak with Luke with sliding into the DMs. So,
Whoa.
if you all could go ahead and sign off. I forgot how I sign off of the first part of the player segment.
I don't have my pen.
segment.
I can't sign anything.
Thank you for listening to the first half of Conversations in Catapults.
No,
But all
you
that
don't
other
have to
information
do-
will come later.
Yes. Okay, perfect.
Insert ending
after a short
here.
break. After a short break, I will be back with Luke for our sliding into the DM segment.
Now on to the worst
Thank you
part.
all.
Wow.
Ooh.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
For no reason.
Damn. So vicious.
Incredible. Welcome back to another installment of Sliding into the DMs. I am your host, Nathan, and this is Luke.
Hi.
Who you might be a little bit familiar with if you... Luke, what is that project that you're on?
Oh, the bonus episodes? Or you just mean like running like the back end of things?
Oh, you do editing. I know that's your main job for like the whole thing. What is?
Oh, are you talking
the
about
other thing?
DMing?
Shit. Yes. What the name of the thing?
It's not Conversations Catapults. That's this.
No, that's the spinoff.
Is it Castles and Crack? No, that's the rejected name.
I think it's like
Trials and Trebuchets.
Trials and Trebuchets. That's it. Fantastic. We should cut that whole intro.
No, it was
bit.
great.
That
It was
amazing. I loved it. Oh no, we're keeping that in definitely.
Yeah.
I just can't sound too full of myself after like that hot of an intro, you know?
It was great. It was amazing.
Well, Luke, we are coming in hot off of 116, 117.
Mm-hmm. Those exciting episodes.
Hey, I liked them because
I did too.
You know, this is the first episode of Conversations and Catapults that we're going to be able to have where we're not talking about like a wild plot development. We get to just like get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be fun.
I agree. I also really liked these episodes, and even if they weren't very exciting, they were good for the soul. And I think
Agreed.
it's important to do that every now and again.
I 100% agree. Especially something that I've already talked to the players about is the different environments that we've seen throughout the campaign. And I wanted to talk to you about how you create those environments from Spire Nebulosus came up a lot during the player segment as a like standout area along with Zanak's lair in there as well. I wanted to talk to you about how you create these set pieces. And I also wanted to figure out like what's a good name for them, if setting or set piece was the right name for it or not.
I think set piece is a really good name for it. I also very much try to think of, or I don't actively think of these places as their own characters, but I do think that you could really make an argument for like the setting being a character first and foremost above all else, right? Like when I'm planning an arc, I don't start by listing out all the characters who are going to be there. I start with the setting, and then that informs everything else.
I'm so mad at you. You just took one of my questions away, which was when you create a set piece, which comes first, the character who lives there or the setting around it?
Yes.
Which you just answered, but I want to go into a bit deeper on that because I feel like in places, and I'm thinking of Zanak here, it feels very much like the area shaped itself around Zanak's will. So did you come up with what that Undercity was going to be like, prior to even coming up with the idea for Zanak? Did he just come in after?
The City of Ghosts. So Shake and Break is a very interesting thing because to start from the beginning of that like line of thought for how I went about it was when I sat down a long time ago to just draw a map of the world of the campaign setting, I drew this little peninsula down south, and I was like, oh, what would be a fun name for this? And it was just very much in my naming convention then, and I think still to a point now, and I called it the Grand Spire, like this actual geographic landmark, the Grand Spire. And then I thought, wouldn't it be also very funny if on the Grand Spire there were these spires, right? And there's some sort of relationship between them. And the first one that I detailed out and kind of like really loved was the Spire Nebulosus, right? Which is why it's that weird kind of like that weirdness about the name almost of like the Spire Nebulosus, right?
It definitely feels more like visiting a monument than visiting a city.
Yeah. And then the town just being called Nebulosus was just a artifact of me not actually having thought of a good name for the city and being like, well, why wouldn't they call it Nebulosus?
I suck at city names so much.
I as a person who plays in a game that you run, I disagree strongly. I think your city names are a very strong suit of yours.
Hey, newbie DMs, if you ever want like a quick guide to building a city, give it a name that is just adjective noun.
Yep.
And then when you do that, come up with a reason why it's called that adjective noun.
Yeah.
And you're gonna be great. You're gonna be golden.
Integrity's hometown is called Dry Falls because nearby there's a waterfall that's run dry. It used to have a different name, but they changed the name.
That fucking rules. That's a dope name.
Yeah.
That's why in my fanfic I explicitly mention it just because it's a cool name.
I'm glad. In a different world, in a different campaign, in a campaign that never got turned into a podcast, that's where we started, was in Dry Falls. But we instead made a podcast and instead are at a wild school, or Wild Cliff Magic School. But the campaign the campaign setting was designed for a different campaign, and there's still artifacts of that every now and again. Crow is an artifact of that, I think. Anyways.
Once Crow is a topic
we should
from the actual podcast, I'm really excited to talk about Crow.
I am as well.
I'm excited to see more of Crow.
And back to the question at hand, which is specifically the like palace and the City of Ghosts that sits below Nebulosus. I wanted to play around with factions, and I knew that there was this insanely extravagant spire that Juanita was in charge of. I knew that there was this general city of like just a melting pot kind of city, which is one of my favorite things to make a little, I don't know if microcosm is the proper word. And I would more so say that Ocean's Breeze was a microcosm for what the general city at large was like, which was to say there was people that were living in a rundown, like Ocean runs a rundown like tavern, and there's just like absolute straight off the bat criminals who are in here, right? Like,
Yeah, in the shadow of this giant spire
Exactly.
that is like a
Yeah.
testament to,
extravagance.
affluence.
Like each
Yeah.
step 2,000 fucking gold, right? Like absolute absurdity, right? And so I also thought it would be, so with this being a thing, I want there to be like thieves running around and like kind of like a little street gang of like, what happens to the people who fall into that, right? Where do they go? What's going on with that? And so the idea of like
And
there
who
being
takes advantage of that opportunity presented.
Exactly. And so the idea that there is this faction beneath the city that is controlled by a powerful djinn of some sort, who is Zanak, is just very, I don't know, that it being a djinn fit the aesthetic of what the city was in my mind, which was, it just felt, I don't know how to describe it any more than that. It just all felt like it slotted together quite well, that to have like these different factions, to have like this like stark contrast in like all these things, and then to have the city beneath and the city of ghosts, and that actually being tying into like other major plot points that I wanted to get to, is where the city of ghosts comes from specifically, and the fact that they're using solar energy in the spire to like prop it up. That's like ties into like just other things that I wanted to set up. The like smallest of which is like Williard, which we've like barely touched on. But with regards to like the actual space,
And specifically the space informing the characters who you populate that
Yeah.
space with. Like specifically Similai in the Loft of Elders.
Oh,
is another,
Similai.
like, because like that's another example of
Yeah.
like, all right, we have someone who is very clearly like
Mm-hmm.
made a mark on the area around them,
Mm-hmm.
but less so than someone like Zanak or Juanita, who
Correct.
seem to have shaped the setting.
Correct.
So I wanted to like compare and contrast on like
mhm.
how you coming up with settings first
Yeah.
informs how you build out these people who populate them.
So that's a good comparison we can make, is that the spire was like this center of affluence, and essentially like we is a very selfish person, right? And that's just of her nature, I believe, to be that way. And so that in like the city, that I think that it's hinted to at least a bit through some environmental storytelling, that she like built this city, especially since it looks like her. Like if you look at it from the top down, like that's just like
It's
pure,
such a cool detail.
it's such narcissism that, and I adore it, and I feel like that comes across strongly in her character.
Some narcissism is excusable if it's badass enough. Like if you build a city in your own image,
Yeah.
you deserve it.
If you
you've
have some
earned it
fucking
then.
style, yeah.
Yeah. Listen, I think the biggest problem with rich people in the real world is that they're all fucking nerds. No, that's not the biggest problem. We don't have to. Rule 6, no politics.
Yep. And so with Semilai, we can see a really similar thing in that so far I think we've really strongly stressed how like brutal to a point the nature in Isithil is. Like the natural order in Isithil is to be violent, right? Like the Grung, I think, are like very key on that. Or even like the first meeting with Gola Pedra, they are just exerting a presence, right? And that is an elder, that is a great being in this plane. Like that's showing this is what this place is kind of like. And so Serenepth really especially has keyed into like, this is kind of a dangerous place. I kind of don't want to be here because it's very dangerous here and we're unsafe, right? And so there was even some trepidation in going to the Loft of Elders, because on the map Winsler had, that was transcribed from Faramel, it had written like, here, caution, elders, lots of elders, right? And so there was a fear of even going there in the first place, and then a fear of looking around even and being like, we shouldn't be snooping through this stuff, guys.
Yeah.
And so
Don't open any doors.
And so then when they're going up the loft on that little wooden platform, and they see that inside this large tree is just little critters making a life here and like nesting here and being safe, especially with the stark contrast of this tree is very bright and warm and comfortable, and currently outside in the rest of Isithil it is bleak, to say the least, right? And so that contrast is like, yeah.
I stopped you because that also brought another thing that was on my list of talking points, which
Mhm.
was when designing an environment or a set piece like this, are you also, at this point in the campaign, consciously thinking about how it'll represent or how it'll change when things go wrong? Like going the spire crashing down, like
Yes.
So this Loft of Elders is a very safe place, and that emphasis to me is almost at this point kind of foreboding because I'm preparing for the downfall.
Well, we have 3 very powerful entities coming here. We've been presented someone who is Semilai, right? Semilai is a caretaker, some sort of warden of this place who's a gentle spirit, right? I think that there's some cues that if you go back and listen closely to those episodes can point you towards some of my intent with how things could go badly, or just little mysteries that I think we don't have all the answers to. One of the ones I'll just say outright is there was a potential for them when they got on that wooden platform to rise into the loft. There was a potential for them to go down where they felt coldness, right? That ties into a potential way that things could go wrong. But it is in this specific case. I did want to give them somewhere that they felt safe because the other characters so far have been so menacing, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like even Wildcliff, which should be a safe place, doesn't feel safe because we've had menacing characters. So to go to a place which is menacing and meet even more menacing characters, it's difficult to try to talk to them.
I really enjoy another place that is supposed to be a safe haven and was not one to me. And this is not going where you think it is, or at least I don't think so.
I hope it is.
I was thinking of the Lodge of the Lost.
Oh, that isn't where I was thinking.
Where were you thinking?
I thought you were going to bring up like the
Artis's house?
No, Ailton Valley from Of Pets and Prophecies, which should be like the cutest stuffed animal, happy talking animals land.
That arc rules. I can't believe we didn't have this show before we did. Before like you all did that arc. If we ever do a CNC retrospective, for sure.
I'm glad how much you appreciate that one, honestly. That arc was like what these past 2 episodes have been, but on a larger arc-like scale where I was like, I need time to personally like wrap my head around what I want to be coming. And so to take it slow and just let them explore a little bit. And it has like that same energy, I think. Yeah.
But we were talking about the Lodge of the Lost.
Yes,
I was saying
sorry.
how I think the Lodge of the Lost is another one of those places that should be a safe haven, but is not specifically because of how we see Milan, who, through no fault of their own, they live in a dangerous world, is just going to be very scared and like, is obviously prioritizing his own survival.
Yeah. Like he wanted out of there. He had talked about how the Grung harassed him, right?
Yeah.
All these things, tried to sell it for cheap.
And then we see Similai, who takes their duty very seriously.
Yes.
Finds so much joy in it as well, just like with the smallest things, like seeing squirrels. And while also, in my opinion, Similai seems incredibly threatening.
Oh, that's interesting.
It is the like speak softly but carry a big stick vibe.
Yeah, I get you.
She is the big stick.
Oh, I like that. I love that.
I like her a lot.
Yeah.
Also, like, I definitely think if she was in the like bag to try to grab Ferdinand, I would give it to her. Especially if everyone is coming to her home turf. Like,
I get that. Yeah, I strongly agree. Semilai is a gentle spirit. From what they've presented.
Yeah, and gentle doesn't necessarily mean weak either.
Correct. Like I said, there's some things I think you could piece together. I don't know if the players or anyone who listens has. Well, I guess the people who listened at the point of us recording this, only what episode 116 has gone out. So you might not have all the little puzzle pieces to put them together. But I believe that I've laid a couple of breadcrumbs out there that hint at Semilai and the potential of certain things, if that makes sense. Is that too
About
telling
them being,
or foreboding?
Like an elder.
Yeah.
Like being like having a special relationship to elders.
Yeah. I mean, this is where the elders congregate. She clearly knew about the conversation that Sereneph butted in on.
With
all these things, right? So
like I think I think those hints are there. Like
Okay.
I'm not a big hint person. Like I pick up on things,
Yeah,
but also like I need to know what I'm looking for in
Yes.
order to like
that's
search for them. If I have my conclusion, I can actually put together the evidence for it really well.
Yeah, because for me, I just see that as like, oh, I've led them to water. Meanwhile, the players are just like, is this just nonsense stuff that you're saying, etc. Right? Like, there's just so much signal to noise on their end that makes things a little bit more mysterious than I think they are, which is
feel
fun.
you.
I think Semilai is a mysterious person and a gentle person who belongs exactly where they are in this mysterious and holy place.
So the key to defeating them is taking them out of the loft.
That could very well do a meaningful that could have a meaningful impact on things. Yes.
Hey, newbie players, you got to recognize which enemies have layers and layer actions.
Yes. We only ever fight enemies in their lairs, so I think it's a good idea to identify when you've walked into someone's lair.
That's a good idea.
Oh no.
This is off topic. I was just thinking about like, I don't know, for that statement made me think about the Autumn's End like tournament, and I was like, ooh, is Luke going to have like both teams get a layer? That way
would
it's
be
like
fun.
Yeah, but regardless, I'm glad that we were able to talk about environments shaping the characters in there. I don't know how much we
touched on a lot of stuff. I don't know how
we
in
touched on
depth
a
we
lot
went
of it.
in. This one was a bit more flowy.
I think that's okay. People love that.
Another thing that I want to mention about environments is every single environment, every single arc features it goes heavy on cylinders and circular rooms and stuff. And like that kind of like come into a room that acts as a hub that's like they're in 4 cardinal directions. There is stuff. And it's something that I'm aware of. It's something that I enjoy. Honestly, I don't know if it bothers people.
Never picked up on it.
Yeah, it's there. Like the sunken hatch, pitter or patter rather, the spire nebulosus, the tree, all these things. Orbs. It's all circles.
Breaking my mind.
Yeah.
The Nesca fight happening in a big sand circle pit.
Yep. Oh, that was one of my favorite layers. That environmental
so good.
stuff. Yeah. The 2 areas that I would say, like in my mind, there's a couple of locations on Wildcliff campus that still have so much untapped, like I was saying, character potential as just environments. And one of those to me, we got there with like the Ascendant Chambers, but another one for me is still just the old chapel. Like it's still a character of its own right in these ways of like, it's a hub for a lot of very strange things.
It feels like a capsule of history. Where like almost not in the sense of like, oh, there are lots of old shit here, like a time capsule. I mean, and like it literally sometimes seems, and this may just be me projecting onto it, I'm not going to give you this much credit, but it does seem like something that's almost like unstuck from time, and so like weird shit will pass in it or like happen around it.
There's a reason I called it the old chapel.
Yeah. Like, what I really love is how that ties in to it being a Wildcliff staple, like, and also thinking about how Wildcliff was formed. Like, all right, what was built first? You know, I don't think the hatch was a part of the actual like building of the university.
I can tell
What is
you
the old chapel.
I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that, first of all, to just frame what I'm about to say, there's a lot of speculation on the player's behalf and also on listeners' behalf of just why the hell is this school built here, right? Like, why here? There's so much. Why build it on this evil snake hatch, right? Like, what are you people doing? Like, etc. Does the school know all this other stuff? And another thing that pops up all the time with just like the geography of stuff and people kind of seeing. I made a couple of maps of like, here's where everything is relative to one another. And everyone was like, the desert, the Adriatic desert, which is supposedly where ruins of Shiora are and like where Shiora was in the long, long ago, is so damn far away from where you say Wildcliff is, Luke. What the heck is up with that? And I just have to like grin and be like, meh, probably something up with it. So that's like the framing for what I'm going to say is just that there have been very, very, very accurate guesses at what's up with that make me very happy that kind of like, I don't know. It just is I'm so glad when I can put breadcrumbs out and people put them together, or just, I don't know if it's them putting it together or them just wildly speculating and happening to land on something, but it rings a happy bell in my heart. If that makes sense.
That's the sweetest. All right, that's the episode title. I've gotten to the point where I stopped trying to listen for it in the players section. I'm just like, nah, we're gonna get to it in the Luke section. It's fine.
Oh.
All right, excellent. Well, if you would like to throw out fun ideas and make sure that Luke probably hears them, join the Discord. You can find a link to it here in the episode description of this very podcast.
This episode, yeah.
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 Yeah. Excellent. Well, I did have a fun remaining question. It was something minor, but it was something that I did want to like kind of brag on you about, which was I thought the elevator was a very satisfying puzzle, or at the very least, your like the player's resolution to that incredibly satisfying. I don't know if it was like if that was your intention from the very beginning, but listen, you've come such a long way from it does not budge.
Yep. I know. The elevator puzzle was just it literally materialized from me going, Sam asked the question, or someone asked the question. I think, yeah, Sam, is there anything on like this main little entrance floor? And I was like, ooh, is there anything? And Ben's like, a bench, right? And then that just sent me spiraling off to like, oh, a little, you can hear me have like the epiphany of like, oh, a shoe cubby, like in episode 116.
Oh my God.
And then I immediately came up with this like this text that's written on it, which if I could go back and retcon things, I wouldn't have had written in common. I would have it written in like the same kind of shifting script that's written
Primordial.
on like the or primordial or something else, but just not common. I don't know why I made it common. It's not a big deal, but little things.
But the Loft of Elders probably has the most like visitors from other planes.
Yeah, exactly. And so it just immediately was like, I was already in my head kind of like, we will deal with how the elevator moves when we get there. And so the fact that this had been provided to me was a joyful little moment, especially when they got on and then didn't say, does it go up? Are we going up? They just immediately launched into like a very fun conversation in character. And then they were like, and then I was like, oh, so how are you going to move this thing? And it's just fun. And then they got really lost in the weeds, as they are wont to do. They threw out like so many different iterations of the same plan, and all were misunderstanding each other. And it was just, upon re-listening, I felt kind of bad for like stepping in when I did, but also
you're also running a show.
Like, exactly.
You're not just running a game, you are running a show. So I think that's absolutely like, I think it didn't feel like you were overstepping your bounds too much. It felt more like you were like hearing what everyone was saying and then able to help them communicate,
getting them on the same
easily.
page. Yeah, that was a fun puzzle though. I liked that.
I was going to say, hey, puzzles are hard for like new DMs. Don't do puzzles.
Don't do them.
Not until you figure out like your party's competence in terms of puzzles.
The first puzzle I ever made was years and years, or not the first puzzle, but the first puzzle So I used to run D&D for my brothers, and they didn't care. We didn't care about puzzles and role-playing. We just cared about killing orcs. And that was really fun and cool. And so my DMing has essentially done a complete 180 in that no one cares about killing orcs. And orcs are, in fact, very cool. And we just care about role-playing and getting girlfriends and going to school now is what the podcast is. Having a fun slice of life, making golems. And there's a lot of puzzles in there.
Lots of puzzles, lots of mysteries.
And the first puzzle that I ever, I was making a dungeon, and I had barely any experience making puzzles. And I was like, looking up riddles on like the internet. And there was like one that was like, what can you add to a rock to make it lighter? And the answer is a hole, right? And so I put in, and it just tickled me. And I love like wordplay is like the foundation of most of my creative energy. And
Sarah's
so anyways,
told me this story. I love it.
And so they came to a dead end room with a like little plinth that just had a rock on it, and on the plinth there was this inscription. And so they pick it up, read the inscription. Every single player sitting at that table immediately understood what was the thing, and they all go, a hole! And then a hole appeared beneath them, and they fell into a boss fight, and it was awesome. So like they don't have to be complicated. There's a piece of advice that gets thrown around, which is make a puzzle and then listen to whatever your players say for the solution, which don't do that. If you're new, don't do that.
Really don't. That's gonna make you seem like a chump.
Yeah. In this case, I listened to my players to create a prompt for the puzzle, and then immediately came up with just a very simple thing, like on the fly, that I thought was fun. Right.
It also reinforces the themes of the actual Loft of Elders, which is a great deal of hospitality,
Yes.
welcoming in guests, while also expecting guests to maintain a certain amount of decorum and respect for the home.
Mm-hmm.
And then it immediately tells us about the characters, by whoever does not take off their shoes.
I love Ferdinand. That was a really fun actual moment, to be honest, when they go, why can't you take off the shoes? Is it part of like your skin suit? And I was like, oh, I'm so glad that someone actually thought of that, right? Because it's just like a card in my back pocket, and I was wondering if anyone was going to ever ask, how do you even change skins or something like that? Like, do you have to like change skins and then wear clothes also? And it's like, clothes are part of the whole deal, everything.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I was expecting you to say that you came up with that tidbit on the fly as to why Ferdinand, or like, also, I kind of thought that Ferdinand was lying, as like a way of just, hey, I don't want to follow these rules. Like the fewer tracks I leave behind, the better.
I mean, there's hints of that in the fact that Ferdinand knew of the Loft of Elders, had never been here, seems a bit apprehensive about being here, and then hid behind integrity, while Semilai kind of was like, I don't like shape changers, right?
Yeah,
so
I wonder why.
Yeah.
Semilai is the dark horse, and the who's gonna get Ferdinand like pop, and I'm gonna call it now. Semilai's gonna get her, or Semilai's gonna die in a terrible tree freeze that comes from below as Faramel reveals himself from under the elevator.
Yeah, there's a lot of Faramel talk lately. It's good stuff.
I could talk your ear off about Faramel, but unfortunately our listeners do not have the time for it. And on that note, I guess we should go ahead and say goodbye.
I think we can say goodbye. Thanks everyone for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, go and check out our Discord, as Nathan already referenced. It's in the episode description. If you recall, in episode 1, you said I get to do the outros on odd-numbered episodes. There's
I never thought we would get this far to another odd-numbered episode.
Dies after number 2. If you are into social media, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Trials and Trebs. There's teasers that get posted there, art on the weekends or maybe the early weekdays, and on Twitter, occasional posts that remind you that there's a Twitter account. And most of them are incredibly funny, quite honestly. If you enjoyed this episode, if you're enjoying this show, you can first of all just let us know. Nathan is super receptive to any comments, questions, critiques of anything going on here, which is great, and they're doing an amazing job hosting the show. But you can send those to us or just generally post them places. But if you especially enjoyed this show and like the other 117 episodes that we've produced of the main series, leaving a review on Apple Podcasts is one of the kindest things that you can do for us for free. Just lets people know about us, kind of like signal boosts us for the rest of anyone searching for podcasts. And if you really especially enjoy the show and have the financial means to do so, supporting us on Patreon is so appreciated and lets us do cool stuff like make this show and purchase equipment when it breaks and pay our hosting fees and all these things and more, and in the future make other cool stuff. And we're thankful for everyone who does that.
And hey, if that isn't something you can do, don't hesitate to also share it around with people you know.
Yeah.
Like, those things can really help out the podcast, and we really do appreciate it here.
Yeah, that's it on my end, Nathan. Is there anything you wanted to sign off with?
No, I had to just really like swoop in there just to get my little bit of the...
It's great. It's a conversation.
Also, don't let people forget about the subreddit for Trials and Trebuchets.
Yeah.
That is unofficial.
Yeah, it's unofficial. If you want to go to a lawless wasteland, you can go to the subreddit if you're into that.
Yeah, I drop by there sometimes. Leave a review for this show on the subreddit and also on Apple Podcasts.
Leave it on Apple Podcasts.
Well,
we got there. One final.
Hell
we
yeah!
got to the British part.
Listen, there has to be a little bit of being the British. That's just how it is on this bitch of an earth.